Hey everybody, it's Mr. 845 here, and we're interviewing another small business. Check this out. This is John. John, tell us who you are and what do you guys do?
Hey, so my name's John Luongo. I'm the broker owner at Shop Around Insurance Services. We just celebrated our 15th year anniversary. Um, we've been doing this forever. It seems like through multiple different markets, multiple different cycles, growing a family during the whole time. And so, yeah, Shop Around Insurance Services is the name of the business. The phone number is 845-418-4968. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. We're kind of everywhere. I have a TikTok thing, but I think I just post videos of me going skiing on there because I don't really know what to do with it. So yeah, Shop Around Insurance. That's me.
Yeah, that's more for health insurance, right? Showing,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
there's
I
a
put
broken leg.
every time I have my helmet on, right, as I'm getting older, and I'm 46, so I'm on the ski lift, and I'm like, I pull out my phone. I'm like, guys, you need to talk about life insurance. We need to talk about life insurance because I don't think I'm getting smarter out there. So yeah, we do PNC insurance, which is auto, home, all the toys, umbrellas. We do business insurance, and every time I go skiing, I'm reminded that we do life insurance too. So we do a bunch of life
Oh, there you
insurance stuff.
go. Oh, see, I didn't even know you do life insurance.
Yeah, we do it all, man. I set it up that way. I like to build relationships. I like to know my clients. I like to see your lives. I like you to see mine. And so I didn't want to have to send people away for different pieces of the puzzle.
mhm.
That we need to protect you. And so yeah, we do life insurance too.
Nice, awesome. All right, so let's kind of get into it. You already gave me your contact information. You gave me a little bit about your business. So let's kind of break it down into pieces as you have them, like you have multiple pieces. So
Sure.
when it came to actually getting into insurance, let's kind of go back first and start there and then kind of push forward. So when you first started in school and you were like, yes, I want to be this when I grow up, what was that?
Yes. So, like every young man, I dreamed of a career in insurance. I mean, who wouldn't want to talk about risk and people love insurance. They love talking about it. So, my dad had an agency, so he had what's called a captive. There's different channels to buy insurance in, right? Like, so you can buy it. Some people go online and buy it. Some people go to what's called a captive. Those guys only have one brand. Although that model is having trouble in this type of in our environment today, and then you can come to somebody like Shop Around Insurance and myself and my team, and we're the brokerage model. So we have access to a bunch of different carriers, and we do the shopping for you, right? Shop Around Insurance. We're going to shop and you're going to save. So all those years ago, I kind of grew up in the industry. One of my first jobs was like cleaning my dad's office and then answering phones. And it's not something I ever really thought about. I'd get into. I never really thought I'd do it. My dad did it, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And then there was an opportunity. Like I was able to start a brokerage and create an opportunity for myself, and I just kind of jumped on it and haven't looked back. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know that my kids or their friends or your kids dream about becoming an insurance broker. But
It makes a
again,
living,
I
right?
saw an opportunity and I went for it, and it's been good for us.
It makes a living though. So, you've been able to support not only you, but your family and raise a family. So it is something that, as somebody, and we'll kind of get into that part. It kind of helps. But before that, what was your choice?
I don't know, man. I never my ch- my choice. I think I wanted to run a fishing boat, like like a boat. Like I think I definitely wanted to be close to the ocean. I definitely wanted to be out in the sun and fishing. Like I do enjoy that. I do enjoy being on the ocean. I was messing around with music for a little while. I went to school. I had a music minor, and I was making a ton of music and having a lot of fun with that. I don't know that I ever. I don't know. This will sound this I never really had an idea what I wanted to do for work. Never. Like all of my dreams involve like not having shoes on and being in the sun and or going skiing, but none of them involved like how I would make money and support my life. So I do hear that question like asked all the time, like what did you want to be when you grew up? And I'm like independently wealthy and not having to work seems to be my default answer.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. So,
Yeah, that was my dream, man. That's what I wanted to
I
do.
mean, a lot of the things that you just said are what social influencers do on the beach and in ski areas, and they basically like, all right, everybody, you see me going down the slope.
I
There you
think if
go.
I
That's
had
the
a little
opportunity.
nicer body, like I would have been all over it. If I had longer hair, I definitely would have went for the
Hey,
social
listen,
influencer.
I'm right there with you.
That's it.
No, but it's important to kind of get some groundwork as to kind of like what drove you into the business, and kind of take you into that part, right? So now let's kind of go into the insurance part. So when it comes to insurance, let's break it piece by piece, right? So I know that they usually combine home and auto, but like take me through the different facets, excuse me, the different facets of insurance that you have. Because you definitely said car, auto, and home, and then life, and then the toys, if you will. But take us kind of like through the different types.
Sure. Well, so I think so I'm going to go back a little bit to the first question. So
Mhm.
I was working in my dad's office, right? And again, he was with what's called a captive company. So there was only one brand there. So I'm working with my dad, and insurance is something that the rates change, rates go up. I mean, that's what they do. Sometimes they come down, but like everything else, rates go up, right? So people would call and say, John, I love you. I love your dad. I've been with your dad. I've been with you for years, but I got to shop around. Right. And so 15 years ago, people would type the way that they thought and spoke. A little different than now. You can just yell something out, and there's a device in your house that answers you.
Mhm.
So back then, I was like, well, I'm going to become the shop around insurance agency, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to get these carriers that people seem to really like, other than this one carrier, right? So that was the birth of shop around, and that's how shop around came to be. People would say, John, I love you, but I got to shop around, and it turns out like I love my clients also. I've been to dinner, I've been to lunch, I've gone to weddings, I've been to funerals, I've been to quinceañeras and baptisms. This is a small business, and we're in the neighborhood, and so we're involved. We get involved, and so that's how shop around came to be ultimately. Um, and then to your questions about the products, what is there? So insurance is a transfer of risk. That's what you're paying for. That's what you pay for. You pay to transfer the risk from your wallet to somebody with a much bigger wallet, right? And that's the insurance company. So that's what you're doing. Products that we do that with, right? Everybody's very familiar with auto insurance, right? You got to have auto insurance. You got to have homeowners insurance if you have a bank. You got to be crazy to not have homeowners insurance if you don't have a bank. There's an umbrella insurance which transfers the risk. That's your legal liability for things you become legally liable for. It's a really big topic in the industry now. Liability and claims post COVID. I mean, really, it's really kind of the wild west on liability claims right now. When I say toys, I mean all the things that you want to have fun with, the
Boats, jet
boats,
skis.
snowmobiles, jet skis, RVs, golf carts. People love golf carts. I don't see it that golf carts aren't
ATVs.
huge in New York,
I think you said
but
ATVs, right?
yeah,
ATVs.
ATVs for sure. Yep, ATVs, motorcycles. Um, e-bikes are pretty big. They're kind of a gray area right now for insurance companies.
It's a
Yeah, so
motorized
all
vehicle, though,
that
right?
stuff.
So, I mean, technically, it could
It's
fall under
not
that.
the e-bikes aren't street legal, so you don't have to
Uh,
have insurance on them. There's a product like for like the city area. You're starting to see some like specialty policies where covers like your cell phone and your e-bike. Those were around for a little while. Um, it's something too that you could look to put on your homeowner's insurance. There is some coverage for bicycles right out of your homeowner's insurance, and then sometimes you can increase those coverages too.
oh, okay, cool. And now, as a somebody that would be looking for insurance, right? Take me through like your first initial consult, like a mock consult, if you will. Kind of like take us through kind of like what would qualify people and kind of the process, if you will. I know that's
Yeah, sure.
personalized, but take us through like a mock one if you can.
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways, right, to get a hold of us. You could go right to the website. You could go to shoparoundinsurance.com. There's a request a quote button. It takes you to a secure page. You'll see that little I don't know, the internet web nerds tell me you got to have the lock on there, right? So the it's got the lock on there and whatever that means. And
Yeah.
so you can enter in all your information. I have lots of people get in contact with me that way. Or traditionally, people will call. We do a ton of business over the phone. I do a ton by text, which is like wild. You're getting like, I guess everybody goes to lunch and everyone starts texting at the same time, right? So, yeah, so that initial consult, we're going to grab some information. We're going to want to know who you are. We're going to ask for your driver's license number and your birthday. We're going to ask for all your personal information. Um, New York State, they base your rates off your insurance score. Your insurance score is based off of your credit score. So we gather a bunch of information. We don't see credit. We don't see credit reports and stuff like that. But that is the first hurdle with a lot of the carriers. Some carriers are heavier on the insurance score, while other carriers use it a little less. But that is part of the matrix. So we gather bunch of information. Your personal. We find out about your cars. We find about how far you're driving to work and what you do for a living. Do you have pools and dogs and kids and climbing walls and trampolines? I got those things. I got to take that climbing wall down. But trampoline, I got one of those. It's got to be netted. So we find out all the stuff that makes you you. How do you have fun? How do you spend money? How do you make money? Right? How much do we need to cover? We'll ask you a bunch of questions about your house. Try to be pretty thorough. Insurance is one of those things where it's it's right on the border of being a commodity, right? That's what the 15 minutes or less is all about. That's what not having an agent is all about. But this is a service, so you want to make sure that you don't want to commoditize. I don't know. I'm not going to say the word right, but you don't want to buy it as a commodity. You
Yeah.
want to buy this as a service. You want somebody who's going to give you the right advice, because when you have it as a commodity, when it's a thing, you don't even know if it works. Who's going
Yeah.
to be there for you? This is all disaster stuff, man. You buy this stuff, well, one, because you have to, and two, because again, you're transferring risk, and the risk is a disaster. So
Yeah.
you want to make sure it works. So we may ask more questions than somebody else that you've spoken to, but that's because we want to make sure that we get it right.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
you
because you
know,
could you could underinsure, you could overinsure, and sometimes in that case you'll overpay or you'll underpay, and it could put you in a really bad predicament, especially if something happens to your home in any of those vehicles. You can't become whole, right? I mean,
correct.
I've heard that term, becoming whole after an accident or something like that, where the insurance company has to make you whole in some sort of case, and if you don't have enough coverage then you're stuck, right? I mean, you have to either
Correct.
cover it out of
Yeah.
pocket.
So that's exactly right. That's exactly what the industry does. That's what the policies do. They make you whole. You're not supposed to come out better. You are supposed to come out the same as if when you went into the accident, right? And so, I mean, that could be subjective if you have to walk with a limp, but that's for lawyers and courts to figure out. What's the dollar figure that makes you go, well, I don't even care that I have a limp because I have this dollar figure, right?
Yeah.
The job at the agent level, the job, for us is to go, hey, let's talk about these numbers and let's make sure you're protected and let's make sure your wallet is protected. That's one of the biggest drivers now. I mean, I think typically like people think about insurance and they go, man, if I get in a car accident, who's going to fix my car? And if my house burns down, how am I going to get my stuff back? The other side of that business is if you cause a car accident, you hurt somebody, are they going to put a judgment against you? Are they going to come after your wallet? Are they going to come after your pension? Right now, one of the biggest things affecting the industry is these nuclear lawsuits, they call them. So in some states, and I don't know how prevalent it is here yet in New York, what that you can sell your interest in a lawsuit to private equity, to other countries. They're buying people's interest in lawsuits. And so it's not even about you. So you get paid, right? Like the idea is like, hey, you're going to get paid. Um, they're going to come in and give you money, and then they're going to take over the lawsuit for you, and they're going to sue the insurance company. And so imagine if that happens against you, right? I mean, that's the scariest part, right? Is making sure you have enough liability insurance so someone doesn't put a lien on your house and take everything that you've worked hard to earn and have. So
Wow, I didn't even know that that was a thing. That's crazy.
yeah, it's a pretty nuts thing. We've seen the rise of like these giant lawsuits. And again, I don't know how much it's happening here in New York. I know it's happening in other states. And it's a pretty wild thing. I was at a conference over the last couple of days, and that's what they spent quite a bit of time, the carriers, talking about, is these, these lawsuits and their payouts, pretty big. Don't get me wrong, no one ever feels bad for an insurance company, but um, it's a rate driver, and it's something that, again, to your point of like, what do we do here? We want to make sure you have the right coverage. I don't want anyone to overpay. I never want to overpay for things, but you want to make sure that you did a review. You want to make sure you get it right. And so, again, do we ask more questions than others? Yeah, we might. But I'd like to be thorough.
Yeah, and
If you're going to pay for something, you might as well get what you're paying for.
exactly. And it's also important to have a human at the other end of the line, because now in the 21st century, it's always very difficult to get a human, right? A lot of times you call the insurance companies, they're like, please hold while we, get your information, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, please enter your date of birth. Please enter your account number. And then from there, it's like, this is all automated. And you're like, listen, I have a specific question that just happened. Like a boulder just fell on my car, and
yeah,
it was on somebody else's property. Like, who covers that? Is that my
yeah,
coverage, or is that their coverage? Like the computer's not going to answer that stuff, right? So
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of important to have somebody at the other line. I know that I've spoken to you on multiple occasions on some things, and you definitely it's very definitely good to have somebody responsive and being able to call you and call you back at least, or even just call you, like you call them and they answer. That's something
Yeah,
that's rare nowadays.
I've wrestled with, as a business owner, right? There's all these services that you can buy, right? I could buy an AI that answers the phone, or I could buy, I have within my phone service, I have the, press one for this and press two for that. And I've resisted the urge to use it. Because I personally, I hate that. I don't want to push any buttons. I'd rather leave a message and then have somebody call me back. And so that's kind of how my phone tree works like that. You call, you hear a voice if we don't answer the phone, and it goes like right to the voicemail, and then one of us grabs it and gives you a call back, because I don't want to put I don't like being in a phone tree, and then when I do it, I'm just yelling agent, customer service, because I just keep saying it over and over, and then eventually it hangs up on me, and then I call back and I play the game of hitting the buttons. But
Yeah.
that's the way I set my office up, and I talk to people as if you were family, as if you were my cousin or my sister. I try to give that type of advice. I try to treat people the way I like to be treated. And so that's the way I run my business. That's the way my team runs. That's kind of the mandate, is like, just treat these people as if they were your family, and it's led to a good thing for people. I think people like the experience. And if you could have a bald brother in insurance to give you the right advice, that's me.
And so I know that that's like the regular insurance, right? So you also talked about umbrella insurance. So I don't even know what that is, and I've heard it multiple times used, and I'm like, what is that? So I have home and auto. I have a business, right? What happens to like this umbrella insurance that basically is like a cap that covers everything else, or like, to take me through
Yeah.
that?
So your business would be its own thing, right? Like that, businesses are their own people,
Mhm.
or their own thing, their own entity. So if we're talking about a personal umbrella, that personally goes over you and your family and the members of your household. And so the way that that product works is it's liability coverage. So things you become legally liable for as long as you're not breaking the law or making money, right? So that's where it kind of draws the line. Once you're making money, well, that's professional and that's business, versus just being alive and doing your thing. So an umbrella policy goes over top of your home, your auto, your any of those toys we mentioned earlier. If you hurt somebody with your car and you have the right type of policy for the car, right? There's requirements to be under that umbrella. Assuming you have met those requirements, the umbrella you would have in like $1 million or $2 million or three or four or five, whatever we figure out or whatever you tell us your liability is, that's what the umbrella does. And so again, you hurt somebody with your car. In this instance, let's say that they're hurt and your policy pays out your bodily injury portion, right? When you look at your auto insurance policies, there's all these numbers on it. We are talking about the things you become legally liable for. In most cases, the limit for an umbrella for the auto, right, it has to meet the qualifications to go under there, would be $250,000. So you rear end somebody, they're hurt, your auto policy pays out $250,000. It's an accident. This isn't an on purpose, right? This is an accident. They can't walk, they can't work, they can't support a family anymore. And they sue you. They don't want to sue you. They have to because they can't work. They're hurt. Your umbrella steps in and pays the money. So if they're hurt to the tune of $1 million, well, your umbrella pays out $1 million. If you have a $2 million umbrella and they sue you for $2 million, again, your umbrella pays out. The judgments are high in court cases. The lawyers go for it. And so that's what an umbrella does. If somebody comes over to your house and they trip and fall, and again, they don't want to sue you. They could be a good friend of yours, but again, they cannot think clearly anymore. They have a ringing in their ears or whatever, and it degrades their quality of life. They'll sue you. Your homeowner's liability pays out, right? Because your homeowners does a whole bunch of things, and one of them is give you family liability. And then if the verdict is above, or their injuries are above the underlying policy, what your homeowners has in it, then your umbrella kicks in and pays that out.
Now, otherwise, if that were to happen and that judgment were to be higher, then they're personally liable for that
Yeah,
funds, right?
correct. So if you have a judgment for $500,000 against you and you only have $300,000 in your homeowners, well, where do they get that? Well, we've all heard the term garnishing wages. We've heard the terms about putting liens on people's houses when you sell them. Who knows if they can go after, your pension or your retirement or wherever they can get money from. I mean, you've seen the news stories. We see how these things play out. Yeah. And again, to transfer the risk to the insurance company versus keeping it on yourself, umbrella policies aren't very expensive, depending on how many pieces of your puzzle you have and how many things it has to go over top of. It's not a lot of money to have an umbrella policy.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so it is something that's important. It's something I didn't know about. So, but we probably have spoken on it. And I just probably am ignorant. But now that you give me a little bit more in depth, I'm actually thinking about possibly getting that myself.
Yeah, so we recommend umbrella policies when we go through, right? Like if once your kids start driving, we're talking about umbrella policies all the time. If you put a pool in, if you have kids, if you those are the big triggers when we start talking about umbrella policies. Mm-hmm. Is when you have one. And I didn't look at your stuff before I came on here, but I'm not sure, man. I think I set you up with one, so we can review. Yeah, you just might not know it, but yeah, we'll go back. So once you have,
that's why you're so good.
Yeah, man. Maybe I snuck it in there, or you just don't remember. But.
No, we probably talked about it. I'm just being facetious, but no, but this is important, right? I mean, you recommend things not because you want to recommend it and because you're making a salary off of it. You recommend it because you actually know what the products are, you know what the person's life is about, and it really gives them that cushion in the sense of making sure that they're good to go, right? That is the difference that I've seen in years where like I've worked with other insurance people, like specifically as the ones that you're saying, like they're specific to the brand that they work with. And I don't get that type of service. So it's just something to kind of give you kudos in the sense that you do look at the overall person. And that's something that people talk about doctors, right? They don't do that anymore. They don't look at the total person anymore. You
Sure.
actually take that second to, take that whole picture and say, hey, this person definitely needs that. So I appreciate you. Um,
Yeah.
so now that we went through kind of like a lot of the home stuff, right? Now take us kind of through like the business policies. I know that as a business owner myself, I've had insurance under I forget where I got it from, but now that I've kind of scaled back a lot, I haven't really done a lot of work anymore because of work but I'm trying to
Sure.
do this podcast, right? So like I know that there's certain parameters at which like insurance some companies can talk on certain things on different platforms. As a broker, is that something that you also have restrictions on, or because you're independent, you're able to kind of explain a little bit better on certain products?
Well, I think that in terms of like, so we sell something called a BOP policy. That's the acronym BOP, and that's a business owner's policy, right?
Okay.
Um, in terms of like what those policies do for people, they give your business liability insurance, right? So they give you there's product liability, there's slip and fall liability, there is coverage for the building you're in, there's coverage for the inventory, there is coverage for the if you had a store, the racks that you hang the clothes on, there's coverage for data breach, right? Like that's a big thing. I know you deal with that, right? Like data breaches and mishandling credit card information, and then there's coverage if your employees steal from you. And so in terms of like business insurance, there's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of different products. There are carriers that are geared. I know you talk to some like what I would consider micro businesses, like real small, before it's big, right? Before you can go
Mom
on
and pop
Shark Tank with
shops.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even you talk to some stuff that's even like smaller than mom and pop, right? Like where it's like, hey, I got a candle business and I'm trying to get it off the ground, or I make pies and I sell pies, and um, there are policies that are designed for people that are working out of their home, and then it's kind of a hobby business.
Mhm.
There are policies designed for the giant stores that you see, and then policies for everything in between. So and all the different types of liabilities that you have as a business owner. So as a business owner, you're going to need your BOP policy, right? You're going to need, if you have employees, you're going to need workers' comp, disability, and paid family leave. You're going to need employer's liability if you have there's bonds that they sell when you're managing retirement for your employees. I mean, so there are a lot of different things as a business owner, depending on your size, that you need. If you're working with kids, you need a whole different, extra things. If you're a masseuse or a physical therapist or a doctor and you're putting your hands on people, well, you need a whole different set of things for that as well. So each industry has its own unique risk. And then the insurance industry has developed products to kind of address those things.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so,
for a chiropractor, at least, I mean, you could think like if you turn somebody the wrong way, that's it. They're done. So
yeah, and from what I tell, like I go to an acupuncturist, and you know, their their professional liability is it's not very expensive, even though they're tapping needles into you. And I do know, not the person that I see, but I do know of a real life story, that a person that I know who got their lung punctured, and I was like, they're a friend of mine. And I'm like, what? These are tiny little. So yeah, I mean, there's all these different aspects to every business, and so there's different coverages in the way that they apply. So it's a pretty broad topic, and then it gets narrowed down by like the niche.
The
And
profession, yeah.
not all companies do all businesses. You know what I mean? Like, not everybody likes landscapers, right? Because there's machines there. Not everybody likes snow plowing because it's inherently risky and they're not set up to write it. And so, not all companies do all things, and I guess that applies too on the personal line side. There's things that are like no goes for these carriers, and so we have the right mix of carriers and products so we can take care of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so like, and I know that we've kind of gone through a lot of stuff. So you can mix and match as a broker. Like if, like, let's say they have a home and auto, and sometimes you get a lot of savings
Yeah,
when you combine that. But let's say their business doesn't meet that same carrier, they could kind of go with a different carrier, and you could kind of
sure.
combine all that packages for them.
Yeah, so I could do in on the personal line side if for rating, like if the price is better to have things split up, we could do that. If for risk tolerance, we have to split things up. Like if you know we write your house with a company ABC, and then I got to write your auto with XYZ because we've got a couple of tickets and accidents, and company ABC doesn't like that type of driving record, or company ABC doesn't even sell auto insurance. There's companies out there that just do home, they just do property. So yes, you can mix and match carriers. We have that ability here. We can put you with all one carrier if that is what makes sense. And yeah, I mean, and then it's the same with the commercial side. Sometimes we have to get a piece here and a piece there. My personal my business insurance is like that, right? Because I have multiple types of insurance, and not the one carrier doesn't do all of the things that I need as a business owner. So I have different pieces of my puzzle too.
So even an insurance broker has to get insurance.
Yeah, yeah. There's lots of insurance, man. I own a business.
Yeah,
I have employees.
yeah,
Yep, we have professional liability. I have a BOP. I have EPLI. I have, you got to have workers' comp and disability,
yeah.
paid family leave, and all of those things. Yeah, yeah. As a business, it. I talk to a lot of business owners when they're starting out. You're going to have to spend money on this stuff to make sure you're covered the right way. Insurance is an expense. You're going to have to get some numbers, and you're going to have to figure it into your mix. You may never use it. I mean, that's the thing with insurance, right?
You hope to
It's a
never
ripoff
use it.
for
Yeah.
you never want to use it, and everyone says I don't even use it, and what am I paying for, and all of those things. And it's that one off, it's that one crazy thing that seems to happen, and then
All
you
of a
go,
sudden now, am I covered for this? Oh my
yeah,
God.
am I covered? And thanks for making sure I had this, because it's a wild thing.
Yeah. No, now, I know that we kind of talked a lot about the normal stuff that we usually talk about. The one thing I didn't know that you had was life insurance. So, take me through life insurance. Like, when should people get it? Because I know that the longer you wait to get life insurance, the more expensive it becomes, correct?
Yeah, that's because it says this is a zero sum game we're playing, right? I think Axl Rose, you don't get out of life alive. So the longer you wait, the closer you are to being dead. So that's what happens with life insurance. Every time you don't die, you're closer to dying, I guess.
Yeah. One way
So
or the other, the Reaper's coming.
one way or the other, man. So yeah, life insurance. We talk about life insurance with people when they're buying homes, when you're getting married, when you have a kid. Again, these big life changes. That's when you got to think insurance. And I know when you get married or you have a kid, and it's the last thing you think about. But there's insurance for this. There people have disasters. So we deal with life insurance across all age ranges. I've sold it to people in their 70s. I've sold it to people in their 20s. It all depends when you start thinking about it. We try to keep it, once a month, or, running the social side of a business is a whole other an animal, right? So we try to bring it up as much as we can. But any of those big life events is always a good. You get a promotion, you're making new money. I mean, it's time to talk about life insurance, right? Because now your family is going to come to depend on that money, and that's what life insurance is all about. life insurance is in the simplest way to think about it, it is a final paycheck for your loved ones. And so,
Your
a
final goodbye.
simple,
It's like,
it,
hey,
it
I'm not here, but don't worry, I got you.
that's correct, man. So it, numbers that I've seen and guidelines that I've seen are, make it simple. You go, all right, what's 7 to 10 times my salary, and that's how much I need. Um, you know, your, for me, if I die, I've got, my kids are 15, 17, and 19. We've got, 4 years of college. We've got a mortgage. We have the things, we're a regular family. And so, um, if I were to die, if my wife dies, how do I keep my house? How do I get my kids through college? How do I keep working and not have to take on a second job to pay for things? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what life insurance does. It's probably the most important product that we sell because it's the perpetuation of your family and your lifestyle, right? So, if you and I were talking about life insurance, I'd say, Ramon, what do we need so your wife doesn't have to sell the house? And what do we need so we can get the kids through college and pay for a wedding or, buy somebody a car when it's time to buy them a car? And so those are the ways that we come up with those numbers. The next step in that process, we come up with the number. We take a brief application. We apply for life insurance with one of the carriers that we work with. They'll do the medical underwriting. In the past, I would take a huge application from people. They ask a bunch of questions, um, they'll send out a portamed or a nurse. They do height and weight. They'll do blood. They may swab your mouth to see if you use nicotine, or marijuana. And then they build a rate around that. And as long as it is what we discussed ahead of time, they'll issue a policy based at that rate. If they find out that, like, hey, your cholesterol is a little higher or your blood pressure is a little higher, and they got your medical records. And so it's a medical underwriting procedure, and they figure out, your risk, and then they get the appropriate premium, and away we go. It's
Yeah.
not
So
something to be, it's not necessarily super expensive. It is more expensive as you get older.
yeah,
Um,
and
but
because I know that there's two different types, right? There's like whole life, and then there's term.
Yeah. So you can think of it in terms of like a permanent life policy.
Mm-hmm.
In the most simplistic answer, there's a permanent type and there is a temporary type. When it gets really complicated, I have somebody that I send to deal with very complicated stuff, right? Like, so if we're making it really complicated, and there's there's all sorts of things that I'm not licensed to talk about in those complicated fields, that I have an expert that I refer for those things.
Okay.
But in the most simplest terms, yeah, there's like permanent and then there's temporary. So like if you put a kid in college, you might have life insurance now, right? You have a policy and it runs, and it's a 30-year term policy, and you bought it 10 years ago. It's the length of your mortgage, right? 30 years. And you go, cool, I got enough. And then you get a kid in college, and that kid's going to college, and college is going to cost another $200,000 over 4 years. Well, maybe you buy a 5-year term policy that covers that time period. So God forbid you kick off, there's that policy that pays off your mortgage and buries you. And then here's this other policy that comes up with the money to pay for college. So you can buy short terms, you can buy long terms, and then you can buy whole life policies that'll be around, that build cash, that do all sorts of other things.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I mean, these are some interesting things. These are things that I didn't even know about. So it's great to be able to get a lot of that information out of you. For the people out there that are listening, it's important to see. I mean, you're a small business owner in the Hudson Valley. You've been a part of the community since God knows. I mean, you said 15 years. I've known you probably for at least 10, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, our kids
Yeah,
know each
sure.
other, stuff like that. So it's something where, it's not some out of this world person that you're like, I'm never going to meet this person. We've been at events together. So
Sure.
it's something that's important for people to understand, that you're a part of the community, you participate in the community. And as a business owner, you got to shop around, right? So
Yeah.
why not try and check you guys out. I mean, I know that I've worked with you before, and you're an awesome guy, and you've definitely helped me on many occasions. So I definitely want people to see that it is important to work with people that you can actually enjoy, like just socially, but then also enjoy them in the sense of making sure that your life is good in their hands, right? Um, Now, shifting out of the insurance world for a second, now more on the business side, and this is kind of like where I want to like end it, close to ending it, right? But um, as a business owner that has like an insurance company, how is it in social media world, right? Like I know that there's some difficulties in some of the things that you say and some of the things that you could post. But in the social media world, take me through some of the shortfalls, the things that you can talk about that you can't talk about that how is it running a social media for insurance?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, man. I have no idea. If you've seen any of my videos or any of my posts, I keep things vague, right? So everything I've previously said, go ahead and throw that disclaimer on it that everything is subject to qualifications and conditions and terms and all that stuff you hear really quickly at the end of the commercial. In terms of like what we can post on social media, I try to keep my social media honest. I try to keep my social media like me. And I try to keep it like relevant to like what I see when I'm around. There are some posts that you'll see that are a little more insurancey, like, hey, time to change your clocks, time to change the battery in your smoke detector. But if you have one of those 10-year smoke detectors, I'll have to post it again in 10 years for you.
Yeah.
So there is that type of like marketing and conversation. And then you'll see other social media posts that I do where I'm changing different wigs because I bought a light to do blog posts, or like
Mhm.
social posts. So um, I try to keep it fun. I try to keep it relevant to where we are.
Yeah.
Um, on your point about that I'm from here, I read a quote, when I was starting my business, right? Because I could start a business anywhere, right? Like
Mhm.
anybody could. You can go to any town and
Yeah.
start your business. And I read this quote and it said, "Grow where your roots are." And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Like I have roots here and I know people and I can help. I can help people out here. And so that's what I did.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, and,
mean,
and for social media, I try to keep it just honest and whatever I'm seeing, and we post about our wins for people, and we'll share other clients' businesses and other businesses that we see that are cool. Um, I don't know that I'm great at the social media thing, but
you know a
you
guy
know,
though. You know a guy.
I know a guy. I know a guy.
But now this is one of the questions that I always like to ask people to kind of close things out. If you have to talk to the young person, right, the person that's coming up through the ranks, through life, and they eventually want to become an insurance broker or they want to become an insurance salesperson, and they want to go into that, like, I want to own my own business, I want to be able to sell insurance. Um, what's some good advice that you never got or that maybe you did get that you would like to pass on to the next person?
That's a good question. I think that I would say, I think I would say just be yourself. Like whether it's insurance that you want to start or whether it's I I got to tell you, I see social media of other businesses, and I'm probably old for this to be my thing, but like authenticity is huge for me. And so I would tell somebody starting, be yourself. If you don't know the answer, go ask somebody who knows the answer. Somebody knows the answer. You do not have to know everything. I don't know everything. There every day someone asks me a question and I'm like, yeah, that's the first time I'm hearing this. Let's go find the answer, right? So I would say be yourself. And if yourself is super, super vain and thinks you know everything, well, it's time to be somebody else because being a business owner is a humbling experience. Um,
Yes.
every day. I think I've sent you the meme, right? Like the chart where like I'm the smartest person, I'm the dumbest person. I'll never recover from this. So
Yeah.
um I think whether it's insurance or it's anything else, I think you have to be humble. I think you have to know when you don't know the answer, and I think you have to ask for help along the way. I mean, one of my favorite things, man, is asking for help, because then you get to talk to experts in the field. You get to learn something. You get to learn something that maybe you could then do, right, or you could hire the expert. I have some experts, man, and they talk to me about things, and I'm like, that's some really nerdy stuff that I don't have the capacity to even understand, but I need you to handle this for me and be the expert for me. And that's kind of, the role that we're taking, in people's lives as like their insurance expert. But anybody starting anything up, you got to go ask questions. You have to learn. The more stuff you find out that you don't know, the better you're going to be at the job, because you're now going to have, you're now going to have an expertise. You've got to go out and learn something, which is really cool. And so anybody starting up, figure out what you don't know and go find an expert and learn from them. That's what I would tell you to do.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So, John, thank you very much. See, you thought we weren't going to be able to do an hour worth of content on insurance, but here we are.
Well, hold up. I need 10 minutes. So I need to know about Mr. 845. Mr. 845, he's out there.
All right.
He's doing, I see him every day. I see the hat. Is it the algorithm you like? Is it the creative you like? What do you like the most about being involved in like the social influencer thing? Like tell me what you like there.
Okay, so now this is a reverse interview.
Yeah, we're doing a reverse interview. What, guys? Welcome to my podcast, the Shop Around Insurance. I've got Mr. 845 on. You all know him. You see his posts. Now we get to find out what he likes.
So I'll put it to you this way: what started me off in social media, right, was actually an accident. Believe it or not, I was at my day job, and a gate came into contact with my car, injured me. I was out for 3 months, and I still did computer work because, like, doing computer work, I literally just leaned and just typed on a computer while I'm laying on the couch, just doing like simple cleanups and stuff like that, right? So I was
which you've done for me,
yeah, and like literally, it's like a 5 second to like in some cases, if it's good, like you had some pretty good computers, but some other people, they're infected, they have all. So I was just kind of doing some stuff just to keep my mind at ease and not really dealing with the pain, because I'm still injured to this day. But ultimately, that's what created CE Avengers and Mr. 845 Social. Originally, it was like Hudson Valley Gold Rewards and I Love Local Rewards. But what I saw with the platform is a way. I saw a lot of negativity out there in the world, right? Everybody's always talking about this, that, and that's all I saw. And what I saw in the community was there was a lot of businesses that were closing. There's a lot of businesses that are opening. Nobody knows who the hell these people are. Like, I didn't know who the hell anybody was. I was a transplant from the Bronx, and I didn't know about, any of the businesses that are up here. And then when I moved up here when I was a teenager, like, we didn't know anybody. We met Antonella's owner, and we actually went to their pizzeria because they were the closest to the Bronx that we could actually get to pizza, right? And literally, I think my parents put their kids through college. That's how much we've spent with them because of the fact that we built that relationship with them so early on in moving up here. And so, like, I remember that experience, and I was like, there's got to be other businesses out there that do that experience. So when I got into social media, it was more to really land a positive platform, which doesn't go very far. I mean, I only have in my group like 13,000 people, and it's slowly growing. I mean, it's been since 2014, I've been trying to grow it. So now it's like 11 years. And it doesn't go to where it needs to go. It doesn't go viral like somebody getting kicked in the nuts, but it really helps people. I mean, I've met a lot of business owners, you included. I've networked a lot of people. I've helped people in that sense. And that really was where it comes from, is helping the people find that capability. Now, the algorithm I don't like. None of the algorithms work for positivity. They all lean more on the negative because people like to be entertained. It's basically a TV show, right? I mean, it's a drama. Who likes to see the good, happy family? Nobody. They like to see the torment. That's why you have these reality TV shows is because everybody loves to see the chaos, right?
The conflict. They like the conflict. The
Yeah,
algorithm likes the conflict too, huh?
yes, exactly, and they like to push that. When you do something positive, like somebody saving an animal, or somebody helping a woman cross the street, you see maybe like a portion of that, like a
Right.
tenth of that. The rest of it is chaos, right? Because chaos is a lot easier to manage because it's so random that people are like, "Did you just see that?
Yeah.
That never happens." So I really wanted to keep my platform very positive. I do not try to post politically because I don't like politics, but I do have to get into it sometimes because a lot of the policies that are being put in place affect small businesses, and they may not necessarily think. I can't say it like that, but business owners think more, not, and I'm not trying to generalize, more with their dollar than they would with their actual life, right? And that's some business owners, not all. And some of the policies that are being put in place can damage their person, right? Like kind of insurance, their person is being affected, but not their business.
Hmm.
So that's the only reason why I post some things like that. Because it's important for business owners to understand that, hey, you may think that this is what's going to be good for you, but in the long term, it's going to put you out of business. I've seen it done in the 90s. I've seen it done through IBM when they started laying off over 6,000 people in the early 2000s. My mom was a part of that. I've seen that when corporations restructure, which has happened to my family as well. And I've seen all that stuff, and I don't want that to happen to you, to your loved ones, to like anybody. And I try to take that experience, that research that I've done, to really try to help people get educated on the things that people think about. Um, and the only person that's really going to think about you is you, right? And on social media, it's very hard to do that because you're posting for other people, right? My content that I post, I try to teach you how to use social media. A lot of times, people will think this is my diary, and I'm just going to put everything on there.
Right.
And sometimes you put your birthday, sometimes you put your favorite animal. These are questions that you use for your
Yeah.
bank.
Your mother's maiden name.
So now you're data compromising yourself without even knowing it, like taking those little surveys and stuff like that. So long story short, I don't like the algorithm. It's too negative heavy. Why did I go into social media? Why do I like social media? Is because it gives me a platform to be able to bring positivity where there's negativity, and it really gives me the capability of helping people, which is originally what I wanted to do when I grew up. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Excuse me, because I was talking so long, my mouth got dry. But
Have you thought about a Mr. 845 bikini post? I mean, I think
no.
that is like the biggest thing on social media. We need to get you in a bikini.
If you
And
guys
that
think
is
that
the
this
whole
beard is
reason I
hairy,
did your podcast today, bro, was to see if I could get you in a bikini by the end of it. So,
um, if I could raise $1 million for charity, um, maybe I'll think about it.
okay. All
If I
right.
could, a
Well,
million
listen, this is out
dollars,
there now.
a
So
million
maybe there's
dollars
a
for
table.
charity. If I could get $1 million for charity, you will find me in a bikini.
All right. I think we
Wait,
got
is it a
this is
two
out
piece?
there.
Are we talking two piece?
I'm talking whatever this $1 million person wants to see you in. But yeah, I mean, Mr. 845 OnlyFans. That's what the
Oh,
Hudson Valley
please,
needs.
God, no. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. But it's important. I like to give back to the community. I like to give back to charity. I'm on two not-for-profit boards, Community Matters 2 and the Children's Cancer Society of America. Um, these are things that are important to me. I've also worked with the Sparrow's Nest. I've worked with Hope on a Mission, and they're local not-for-profits. They help the community a lot in what they do. Though people have their qualms with some of the founders, they do good things. And we need to continue to support those not for profits because they help in aspects of people's lives that you would never, ever imagine. A lot of these not for profits have helped me when I needed them and have helped my wife. So
Yeah, nice to
that's the
give back.
reason why. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting emotional, so I'm trying to hide my eyes. But yeah, I
No, that's
appreciate
good,
it, John.
man.
I like
Yeah.
the little reverse the reverse interview. But That being said, it is important to kind of see the different aspects. And this is kind of like a little glimpse. I may actually do a video now because of you, on just why I do what I do and kind of like explain that stuff because not a lot of people get it. But I do thank you, John, for allowing me to interview you and then reverse interviewing me, two
Yeah, you
questions
got
at
it.
least. But if you guys check out every Wednesdays, we have at 12 noon all these different posts about small businesses and small business owners. It's important to really support them and kind of at least try them, right? It's the simplest thing to do. A lot of people say, I want American made, I want America first, I want this, blah, 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 blah. Supporting your small businesses helps your small community grow. And by keeping the money in your area, it not only helps that person that you're helping, but it helps the next business because that person lives in the community. They spend their money with the community. They're going to buy and they're going to eat locally. They're going to shop locally. They're going to do things locally that will help keep the money in the area. So next time that you think about shopping or shopping around,
Yep.
you want
Shop
to shop
around.
local first, right? So that being said, everybody, I want to make sure that you understand that this podcast is made for the small businesses of the Hudson Valley. Wednesdays, 12 noon, we post them up on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Full videos go on YouTube because Facebook still does not let me post a full video. But hey, you'll get the short clips. The best way that you can support is like their pages, like my page if you can. I appreciate it. But like the small business pages, it really helps get their algorithm so that you can see a lot of the posts that they do. It helps give them the capability of being able to expand their audience. But sharing these interviews also will grant them more access to more people, keeping them and their families safe financially, but also getting their message out there. That being said, everybody, this is Mr. 845, and we're going to be hitting the streets, interviewing more businesses, and hopefully not crying on the next one. All right, guys, take it easy.
Thanks, Ramon.
No problem.